Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for coming for the very last session of this summit. I hope you still have some energy to listen to my talk. And first, I must apologize. I will not speak about AI at all. So, as you can see from this slide, I'm from Nokia. More precisely, I'm from Nokia OSPO, the open source program office. So in some slides, I will speak from my Nokia hat, and in some slides from my OpenChain hat, as I'm working in the OpenChain Telco workgroup. So I will first explain what the Telco workgroup is. Then I will present the work we have done, which is a guide. We will go through the content of the guide, and then, as the last thing, present a tool to validate an SBOM that is compliant with the guide. So, for those who don't know, the OpenChain is a project that was started in the Linux Foundation, and it has resulted in two standards that are now ISO standard. The first one is a standard for programs for open source compliance, and the second one for security assurance programs. But there is much work in the OpenChain umbrella. There are several work groups. An AI work group, that's the only time I will say AI. There is a tooling work group, an automation and SBOM work group, and the telco work group I am the lead of, but also others. So what did we want to do in this work group? It was formed in May 2021, and we wanted to have a reflection on what a good SBOM should look like, because there are many tools that produce different kinds of SBOMs, and we wanted to know what a good SBOM should look like, as it is not a competitive advantage to have a specific format. So we started to work on what the quality SBOM should be for the telco industry. But in fact, we didn't find so many specificities. So the result of our work is a guide that can be used by other industries also. So there are two things we defined. First, the content of the SBOM, what should go into the SBOM, and also the second thing is the way to handle the SBOM, when it should be created, when it should be distributed. So how did we work? The important thing is that we really wanted to work by consensus. So every person, every entity, every company can join our work group, can join our meetings. So we have one monthly meeting, which is the first day of the month, and we have two sessions, one in the morning to allow people from Japan and other ASEAN countries to join, and the second in the afternoon for the American to be able to join. So we had a variety of entities joining our meetings, telecom companies, big companies, but also small companies, and also individual contributors. And as you can see with the logos we have here, there were also companies not in the telco world. So first, the work group was led by Jimmy Alberg from Ericsson, and when Jimmy joined the board to lead the board of OpenChain, I took over this telco work group. So the result of our work is a document called the OpenChain Telco SBOM Guide, and it's currently in version 1.1. We had produced a first version, 1.0, and after some feedback, we produced a minor update. So the first version, 1.0 of the guide, was approved internally in the work group in September 2023, and then it was presented to the OpenChain steering committee, and it has become an official OpenChain document. So you can see in this link the announcement of the availability. So the document is, of course, in English, but in order to have a wider adoption, several people have contributed translations. So I did the translation in French, and we now have a translation in Japanese, in Chinese, and in Korean. And as I said already, in our work, we didn't find requirements that were very specific to the telecom industry, so it can be used by other industries also. So, what is inside the guide? As I said, there are two things: the content of what should be in an SBOM, and information on how to handle the SBOM. So we have selected SPDX as the format as the SBOM. As you know, there are two standards. One is SPDX, the other one is CycloneDX. So what we wanted to select one of the standards in order to have something really operational, to be able to provide a tool to validate an SBOM against the guide. So that's why we selected one of the standards, which is SPDX. And we allow SPDX version 2.2, which is the ISO version of SPDX, but we also allow version SPDX 2.3, which is a revision that is not published by ISO. The next version of SPDX is SPDX 3. For the moment, we don't allow this version. When we started the work, SPDX 3 was not yet officially published. It was only a work in progress. And for the moment, most tools still produce SPDX version 2. So that's why, for the moment, we allow these two versions of SPDX, 2.2 and 2.3. We recommend to publish the SPDX SBOM in either JSON or tag value format. If you know SPDX, you know there are other formats, for example, YAML or even an Excel format, but we recommend to use JSON or tag value. What we wanted to do was to follow industry standards. So we required the presence of the NTIA minimum elements. It was announced very recently, it was, if I remember correctly, Friday last week, that now CISA has produced a new version of the minimum elements that will replace the NTIA minimum elements. So there was a presentation of this in this summit. If you have not followed it, you will be able to see the replay. What CISA is saying is that They want public comments on these new minimum elements, and you have until the beginning of October to provide your comments. And I really encourage you to do that, to read the document and to provide comments. So the second thing we have included in our guide is the CISA SBOM types that describe when the SBOM has been generated. You have several keywords available. It might be a design, a source, a build, an analyzed, or a deployed SBOM type. So in the document, we have two levels of requirements. We have some mandatory requirements that are given with the must or shall keywords, and we have recommendations, should or recommended keywords. So we have a list of requirements, and for each requirement, we provide a rationale explaining why we have given this requirement, and we have also a verification and reference material section giving references. So the first thing we have in the SBOM is the information about the creation of the SBOM itself. So the elements that are mandatory is the date when the SBOM was created and the version of software when the SBOM was created. We also require to have information about who created the SBOM, so both the organization and also the tool that created the SBOM with a tool name and a tool version. And as I said in the previous slide, we require the SBOM type from CISA. So here you see the two levels of things you have to put. For the tool, you must put the tool name and the tool version, and we recommend that the tool name and the tool version are separated by a hyphen. But this is not mandatory, it's only a recommendation, because the tools we tested do not always follow that. And same for the SBOM type. We require only to provide the keyword, but it's best to provide SBOM type, and the keyword. But not all tools, of course, generate that. For instance, Yocto only puts the keyword. So that was for the thing we require or recommend for the SBOM itself. For the content of the software, we require a number of things at the package level. So in SPDX, you can represent the software at 3 levels. You can describe information at the package level, at the file level, which is smaller, or even smaller, you can provide information at the snippet level, which is a piece of code. Here, we only require information at the package level, but of course, that doesn't prevent you to provide more precise information at the file level or at the snippet level if you want to do so. So here in bold, we have things that we require that are mandatory. So the package name, package version, package supplier, These two fields are required by the minimum elements, the NTIA minimum elements. The package download location, the licenses, the copyright text. So things that are recommended are the hash, so the package checksum or the package verification code. I will say a bit more later on that. We also recommend to identify the package with a PURL or package URL. So this is not mandatory, but it's a recommendation. So for those who don't know what a package URL is, it's, as stated here, a de facto standard to uniquely identify a given software package. So it was created by Philippe Ombredan of Scan Code About Code. There was a presentation also about complete presentation about package URL in this summit done by Philippe Ombredan. I recommend also that you have a look at it in the replay. What I can say from this presentation is that now it's a de facto standard, but now they have given this specification to ECMA, so it will soon be an ECMA standard. And when this will be done, when it will be an ECMA standard, it will be fast-tracked to ISO. So it will be also an official international standard. So as I said, I will not go into too many details about it. You can refer to the presentation by Philippe, but I just gave here some examples of what a package URL looks like. You have the PKG keyword, and then here you have 3 different packages: a Debian package, a Python package that can be found on PyPy, and an IPM package. So at the minimum, you have the package name and the package version separated by the @ sign, but you can also add more attributes, more qualifiers, depending on the degree of precision you want to use. As I mentioned here on the slide, there are implementations in many languages. There are libraries that implement functions to check the correctness of package URLs and to handle them, for instance, to translate the package URL into a downloadable URL. And we will be using that in the validator. So we have now seen what the SBOM should contain. So an important thing is the scope. In the guide, we require that all open source software that you deliver must be included, and it should contain all transitive dependencies of the open source you provide. Then for the commercial component, it's not required. It's recommended that you provide information on the commercial components, but it's not mandatory. You might perhaps not want to give too much information about your proprietary components, but the open source components are mandatory. And if something is not included, it must be reported as such. So, when should the SBOM be delivered? So we say that the SBOM shall be delivered no later than the time when you deliver the software. And the recommended way is to provide the SBOM in the same package as the software if it's technically possible. In some cases, for embedded software, for instance, where you don't have much space, when it's difficult to do it, you can provide it in another way. So we recommend to provide a version of the SBOM in a website. And the SBOM should be available on this website for a reasonable amount of time. We had discussion about that. Some people argue that it must be available as long as the software is available, but that's sometimes difficult to determine. So we said 18 months. We took this number from OpenChain. If you are compliant to OpenChain, you must renew your compliance every 18 months. So other things, other recommendations about the SBOM. So we recommend, but we do not require, to provide a digital signature of the SBOM to guarantee its integrity. Second thing, on how to represent the SBOM. There are roughly two ways to do it, or you can deliver a big SBOM, a single big SBOM for your software, or you can use relationship features from SPDX and provide the SBOM as multiple SPDX files which are linked with the SPDX relationships. For instance, if you see SBOMs that are produced by Yocto, you will get dozens or even hundreds of different SPDX files, all related to a main file by these SPDX relationships. I will also say a few words after that with the validator. So last thing on this slide, confidentiality. You might say that your SBOM is something confidential, but if you do so, you must not put confidentiality rules that are more restrictive than the rules on the software itself. If someone has the rights to give the software, the SBOM should have at least the same rights. So, as I said, we first produced the version 1.0 of the guide, but we put it in practice at Nokia, and also we got feedback from other users, and so we provided a minor update 1.1 in March this year. So there is one main modification that is due to Yocto, The Yocto people told us that Yocto does not provide the package checksum. In version 1.0, we said that the hash should be provided by the package checksum attribute of SPDX. But instead, Yocto produces another way for the hash, which is the package verification code. So the main difference between release 1.0 and 1.1 is that we now allow both attributes for the hash. So this makes SBOM created by Yocto mostly compliant with the guide. Some of the SPDX files are not fully compliant for stupid reasons. In the Linux kernel, they still use obsolete identifiers for the GPL. For the GPL licenses, so Yocto import this, but still Yocto produces mostly now compatible SBOMs with our guide. So there are also some minor differences between version 1.0 and 1.1. We have some attributes that were mandatory that are now only recommended. So this makes an SBOM conforming to version 1.0 automatically conforming to version 1.1, but the reverse is not true. So I, of course, encourage you to have a look at the guide, and if you don't agree, if you have ideas, please join us. So we have a website, we have a project on GitHub, so you can file issues there. If you have questions, you can provide patches in the form of pull requests. On this GitHub website, we also have a mailing list that you can join. So really, we encourage you to come and join our meetings. So last thing. As I said at the beginning, we selected SPDX and some version of SPDX in order to be very practical and to be able to automatically ensure that an SBOM is compliant to our guide. So now with my Nokia hat, at Nokia, with my colleague Gage, which is here, we have created a Python program called OpenChain Telco SBOM Validator that will allow you to very easily check an SBOM against the guide. So the latest version is here, 0.3.2. So it's available on PyPy. The source code is available on our OpenChain website. So, as I said, it's a Python program. It requires a rather recent Python, and it's, of course, free and open source software. It's licensed under Apache 2. So we accept all SPDX syntaxes thanks to the official SPDX Python library. So first thing is, of course, with this library, it will check that it's valid SPDX. As a side note, I must say that, well, even some commercial tools do not always provide very costly some very costly commercial tools do not always provide valid SPDX. But that's the first thing that our validator checks, and then it adds some verifications that correspond to what we require in the guide. And as I already said before, if you have issues also with the validator, you are encouraged to tell them in the GitHub website. So there are several options that you can use with the validator. By default, the validator will only check the mandatory fields, but that there is an option that you can use to also check the recommended fields. You have another option that will check the package download location that you provided for the package. So it will check if the URL really allows you to download the package. And if you have provided a package checksum for this package, it will retrieve the package and calculate the checksum and verify that you have provided a correct checksum. If you have another option that will check the package URL, and it will check that the package URL can be translated to a download URL. The next option is about recursive validation. As I said, for instance, if you get a Yocto SBOM, you will get a main SPDX file and many other SPDX files that are related with SPDX relationships. So if you use the minus recursive option, here it will automatically retrieve all files and validate all the complete SBOM with the relationships. Next option, you have an option to check the content of specific fields that might contain no assertion. So you have an option to check fields, to list fields that have no assertion. For those who don't know SPDX in detail, for instance, for the download location or for the licenses, you can put this value. This value means you don't provide the information because you don't have it or because you don't want to give it, but it might be useful to know if these fields have no assertion. And finally, the last option allows you to check the version of the guide on which you want to validate. So, well, I don't know if this is very readable, but here I have a run of the validator with some errors to show how it looks like. It will provide you a table with a list of errors that have been found. Here you have 2 errors, so at the end it says that it's not compliant with the guide version 1.1. The first error is that for a given package, so libldap 242, you didn't provide a package supplier, and this is an NTIA error. And the second error we have here is in the creation info field, you didn't provide the CISA SBOM type. So now a second run, a successful run. Since we provide a software, since we provide a tool, we have provided the SBOM for this tool, and we managed to provide an SBOM that is compliant with the guide, which should be the minimum. And here you see I have put several options to reinforce the validation. So the first option is --strict. So this means that I don't only check the mandatory fields, but also the recommended ones. And so the two other options, I check the URL. So I'm checking that I can download the packages and checking that the checksum is correct. And the last one is to check that the PURL is correct. So here you have at least one valid SBOM. So I'm coming to the end. So what is next? So with my Nokia hat on, so we are using this SBOM guide at Nokia, and we will require from our suppliers to provide SBOMs compliant to this guide, and on the other hand, we will provide compliant SBOM to our customers. So now with the OpenChain hat, as I already said, if you have ideas to improve the guide, they are very welcome. And the second thing is that in OpenChain there is now another group, which is the SBOM study group, which is chaired by Norio Kubota-san, which is here at the front row. He's from Sony. So the idea of this study group is a bit different. As I said, we wanted to specify precisely the content of the SBOM. In the SBOM study group, they want to have something language agnostic, but still they have started the work based on the telco guide. And last thing, tomorrow here there will be an OpenChain mini summit, which you can join if you like. So that concludes my presentation. So thank you very much for listening, and I will be happy to answer your questions if you have. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, hello. Thanks for your talk. That was really interesting, and thanks for the work you do on SBOMs. In our life, we unfortunately chose the other format, so we can't really make a direct use of that. For my first question, the known unknowns that you mentioned that must be mentioned, does that include the build time dependencies? Did you think about build time dependencies when you think about the SBOM for the product that you build?
In an ideal world, yes, it should.
I'm asking because, well, in our world, from the Nixos world, we come from a completely declarative system, and we have all that information, and we kind of throw out the build time dependencies because it's just too much to look at, and it's not mostly interesting for the people. So I was just wondering if your guidance actually says something about that, whether you should include it or whether you should just include the known unknowns. We didn't actually see what our build system was using to build the software.
Yes, we didn't go into that level of detail. As I said, in an ideal world, it should be included, but yes, I agree with you, it might be quite difficult.
Yeah. If nobody else has a question, I'll just have a follow-up about the package URLs. I think that's a really, really great tool, and we need to use that mostly just for there's a CVE published, and you just want to know for your automated tools that you have whether the packages that you build match those CVEs, right? There is no single source of truth for what the package URL should be for an open source package usually, right? So how do you solve that? Who actually adds that information? We're thinking about whether it's a good way to have that in your distribution already, so that you can, when you build the package, you get all that information from your build sources, basically, right? And then you generate the SBOM automatically, and you have the info in there. And the current question there is whether it makes sense to have it as single value, or whether you should, on your side, say there is this list of package URLs that is when there's an CVE basically for those, I want to know about it because my package is my downstream fork, but if it's applying to the upstream, I probably want to know about it.
Yes, it's not a trivial problem to know exactly what package URL to create, because you can put some attributes or not. I know that the people at Scan Code About Code, they are building a database of package URL, so you can have a look at that. It's not perfect, but we considered that package URL is still the best way to identify a package. You can use some other identifiers, but well, we considered it's the best that can be used, and as it will soon be really an ISO standard, I hope it will be used by more people and more tools.
But in the concrete case for your specific standard, is it allowed to put multiple package URLs in the definition?
For a given package?
Or for the SBOMs in your compliant format, if I put multiple comments there that say package URL is this, and also this, and also this, and also this. Yeah, that's the question. Does the schema allow? Does your validator say that's a compliant spec?
Yes, it will be compliant to put multiple.
Yeah, that's already pretty good.
My question is mostly around some of your motivations to look into these standardizations of SBOMs and make them available and coming with source code. Is it only coming because of CRA, or do you have more like triggering factors for like some of the highlights for this work?
No, we didn't think of CRA when we wrote this recommendation, but we considered that it's a good practice to provide systematically an SBOM when providing software.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to ask you about, are there any milestone for updating this guide, or just updating gradually?
We have no planned version, so it will depend if we receive some comments or other input. What I plan to do, and it's quite recent, as I mentioned in the talk, we now have this update of the minimum elements by CISA. So I haven't looked in detail because it's very, very recent. But in the next meeting in September, I plan to have a review of this and to see if we need to update our guide to be compliant with it or not. But honestly, I have gone very fast to the document, but it was published a few days ago. I have not yet seen that. If there are other regulations that appear, we will also perhaps need to update the document, but for the moment I don't have a fixed date. But of course I will also follow closely the work of your work group, of your SBOM work group, and perhaps we will need to make modifications.
Yes, thank you. Okay.
maybe a stupid question, but let's say I'm creating a software, I want to sell it to telco, but I'm also using a lot of transitive dependencies. Yeah, it can be like hundreds of dependencies. And I cannot force other creators of these libraries to comply to OpenChain. So does it mean I need to manually insert all of these required fields to SPDX? Like how does it work in the industry for telco?
Yes, you should provide us an SBOM that is compliant, including the dependencies. So yes, you should try to convince your providers to do that. I know it's not easy, but providing good SBOMs will really be necessary in the next years to comply with CRA and other regulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, please. Go to the mic, perhaps.
I don't have the answer, but there are still many challenges for the SBOM matters. So SBOM study group finding some challenges, and what should we do? And I drafted such challenges in the preliminary SBOM quality guide, and I will make a presentation tomorrow, OpenChain Mini Summit. So please join us.
So maybe just one final question, because our choice of Cyclone DX as a format instead of SPDX is mostly tool-driven, because the tools where we feed the SBOMs, the open source tool, in this case dependency track, that's the format that it understands. Do you have any really good tools, open source tools that we should try out that work with your format specifically? Or do you have plans to work with maybe dependency track to make sure they don't only support the Cyclone DX ecosystem, but also SPDX?
Yes, well, I made some tests of tools to convert from SPDX to Cyclone DX or from Cyclone DX to SPDX. Honestly, for the moment, the results are a bit disappointing. I tested several conversion tools, and several tools produced invalid Cyclone DX or invalid SPDX when converting. And if it's not the case, often when you do the double transformation, so from SPDX to Cyclone DX and back to SPDX, you lose quite some information. I know in the recent version of Cyclone DX they have included specific SPDX-like attributes. For instance, in Cyclone DX 1.6, they have attributes to differentiate between the declared and concluded licenses, which is a feature of SPDX. So I know there has been some joint work between the two standards to make them more compatible. But still, from what I tested, the conversion tools are not good enough to be really usable.
Yeah, thanks. So conversion, yeah, that's one point, right? But is there another tool out there that natively works with just SPDX that is open source, that tracks your dependencies and tells you when there's CVEs announced for those?
For CVEs, yes, there are tools. the idea of an SBOM for me is that the SBOM itself should not contain the vulnerability information because in my view, the SBOM should be something static that should not change. When the software is produced, you produce the SBOM and it should not change. But I know there are some tools that analyze the SPDX SBOM and provide the vulnerabilities associated. You have, for instance, tools from Anchor, Sift, and Gripe that can do that. Okay, so thank you again for joining, and I think there are some drinks on the other side to conclude the summit.